This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to a lovely morning here in Africa. We are currently with a pride of lions, and you're on board a live safari. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Untitled Private Game Reserve. My name is Jared. We've got Marcel behind the camera today, and we've come just in time to have these lions busy playing right in front of us. What perfect timing, and unfortunately, there they stop. So we're currently with the pride of lions that dominates the south of the reserve, known as the Mountain Pride. And at the moment we've got 2 of the adult females here and 3 of the youngsters, and they have just woken up, which is perfect timing. We've been sitting with them for about 10 minutes or so, and they've been sleeping, doing absolutely nothing, as lions normally do. And just as we're about to go live, they woke up, which is perfect timing for all of you and all of us. We've got some baboons. As I turn off, we might hear them to the left, busy alarm calling. Bow, bow, bow. They've seen the lions moving around, and they're warning everyone in the area that there are some lions around. Here we go, let's listen. As I say, let's listen, he stops. There we go. Bow! Bow! Let's see if we can get one more alarm without me talking. Oh, Megan, I couldn't agree with you anymore. What a wonderful way to start morning with a pride of lions, and hopefully soon a very beautiful sunset. Sunrise, sorry, I'm on the wrong side of the world if I think it says sunset happening. Have a look on the right there. You might see one of the youngsters, one of the young males. Oh, he was busy carrying quite a big stick in his mouth, being a little bit playful. So for those of you who joined yesterday afternoon, who were with Damon, this pride of lions was actually in a very similar area, not too far from where we are now, and they were feeding on a warthog. Now, a small little warthog like that wouldn't really feed 5 members of a pride, and if I'm looking at all their bellies, they do look still quite hungry, and so I suspect this is the time of morning when warthogs start to wake up, and maybe that's why the pride of lions has just woken up. They're out at the moment to go look for some more warthogs. All right, well, we're going to stick with him. I'm hoping something exciting is going to happen. But for now, we'll head you over to Ingala, to Eric, to say hello to all of you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Ingala. My name is Eric, and behind camera, as always, is Marcel. And this morning we went, not Marcel, Owen. So Owen's just turned around and looked at me, and he gave me a massive big fright. His facial expressions were priceless. And so what we've actually done today is we have changed from moving from the river, and we're heading down into the southern section of the reserve. And so we are basically driving along one of the boundary roads, and we're just trying to see if we could maybe hear any of the lions that were potentially calling around camp this morning. And we haven't heard anything or seen tracks yet, so we are thinking that the pride that we followed so nicely last night might have actually crossed out of our boundary. But because we are in the southern section of Ingala, we thought we might as well just spend some time exploring it. And so we're going to be looking for some general things. There's a few water holes that we'll go to at some point today and see if there's anything wild and wonderful out. It is Ingala, so you can always expect the unexpected. I'm going to keep driving, and it doesn't look like I'm on a road, but I promise I am. It's just a very, very underutilized road. and so it's very rocky. It's quite a bumpy road, so we just like to take it nice and easy just so we don't break anything. But within the southern section of Ngala, it's an area that we don't really go towards. Roshni, these clouds look quite ominous. I don't think they're going to bring rain. It does feel like there's a little bit of moisture in the air today, but it doesn't seem like it's too serious. And so as we're moving through, I mean, you can just see in front of us, it just looks like it's so much more open compared to the areas that we've been spending around the Timbavati River. And so on the right hand side over here is all completely open, and it just basically means that it's a slightly different habitat that we're moving into. And so it sounds like Pinda might have a few breaks in the clouds, and the sun is popping out. So let's go and watch the morning sunrise.
So as I mentioned earlier, is there a better way to start off a morning with a pride of lions and a sunrise? And 2 minutes later, we've just had the sun peeking over the horizon. And how absolutely stunning is that? It's at the moment just below some clouds and just above the horizon, creating a beautiful glow up into the sky. Something that you always need for a beautiful sunrise or a sunset is some clouds. And in my opinion, there's almost the perfect amount of clouds there for a good sunrise. Although unfortunately, I think in the next 30 seconds to a minute, that sun is going to be behind those clouds. So this, Yvette, I couldn't agree with you more. I have never seen a sunrise or sunset that has disappointed me. Well, that being said, unless there is complete cloud cover and you can't see the sunrise or sunset. But yeah, it's normally always absolutely stunning. Oh, there we've got some of the little youngsters running after each other. So we're just going to pan up ahead because we've got some very playful youngsters at the moment. I was hoping for a little bit more of a takedown there. So one of the young males was busy chasing his sister. And they're very excited. It has rained over the last day, so there should be a bit of water around. The air is nice and cool and fresh. They had a meal last night. And I think that they do know that there is the potential of another hunt this morning. And these lions are at the age where they will start to try and joining. And that is a very exciting time for them. Oh, we've still got one of the youngsters here. I didn't see her. Now, her brother ran off that direction with the remains of the warthog that they killed yesterday. It was the leg. Let's see if she picks it up. You can see she's busy smelling around, trying to see if there's any meat left on that leg. Obviously not. Damn it, I was hoping she was going to pick it up. I wonder if she's going to run back to the rest of the pride or she's going to run back to the thicket where the warthog is. That tree right there is where the warthog was. You can see how she glanced in. Ooh, shame. Looks like she stood on something and hurt a little bit, but she's not limping anymore, so obviously it wasn't too bad for her. And we've just lost view of the rest of the pride up ahead, but she'll be able to catch up, no problem. She can see them, and if she loses them by sight... Oh, there we go, there comes one of the young males. Oh, that was incredible camouflage. I couldn't even see him in that yellow grass. Oh, just ended up in the tree. And that is the perfect hunting technique that he just did there. He predicted his sister's movement. He knew that his sister would have been on this carcass and then joined up with the rest of the pride, and he positioned himself in a spot where he would be able to intercept her as she was heading down towards the rest of the pride. And that's exactly what this male will do in the future. Lie off to the side, maybe close to a game trail where some antelope will be heading down to the water, and then intercept them on their way down. All right, I'm going to keep following them and hoping to see something exciting that's going to happen.
Good morning everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be back here with you all. My name is Lauren. I do have Theo on camera today, and I think we have Sutu, the hyena. You can just see her bottom right here. Very intrigued about the car. Hello. Yes, I don't want you eating my tyres this morning. That's absolutely not what we want. Now, I've came to the den. Of course I have. It's the first place I am going to check. And no one's home, other than who I believe is Sutu here. A wet hyena anyway, that's for sure. And it's wet and it's miserable and it's slightly chilly here. 13 degrees Celsius, 56 degrees Fahrenheit. So I am really hoping the sun's going to burn through. We had a bit of a debate in camp. And I was convinced it wasn't going to rain, and I don't think it is. I can see the blue sky coming, so I am happy. Now, just a reminder for you all to talk to us. Use the hashtag WildEarth, or you can @FC on the YouTube chat feed, or chat stream, whatever you call that. Oh, anal pasting right in front of the car. That is brilliant, marking the territory, of course. And kids, you can still... We have a cup. Good morning. Hello. Would you look at that? Now, I believe lions have killed the buffalo on our property, and Raymond is heading there, but I do wonder if there'll be hyenas around. That's what I want to know. So it's such a pleasure to see the cubs again. I've actually been around a few days, and I have managed to catch up with them again. In Gwazi and Shimbulu. So yes, kids, you can still send in questions to the email address kidsequestions@wildearth.tv, and we shall try and answer questions from everybody. Now, I'm just scanning around because we've just arrived, and I can't see signs of ribbon or corky for that matter. And many of you are saying the hyena cubs are getting so big, and yes, they are. It's slightly scary how time flies, especially when you see them next to Corky's little one. Now, I've also managed to catch up with Corky's little one. Ribbon was present, but Corky was not. I've still not seen Corky, so she's definitely nighttime suckling. I'm starting to think she is avoiding Ribbon. I was against that theory at the start, but I think I've really changed my mind. And I don't know if it's direct avoidance or just sort of respect for the matriarch that Corky used to be. And she comes at night time. The cub's not looking too full whenever I see Corky's little one. I do think you can see immediately it's still healthy, but you can see that it's slightly weaker, and that's a good good morning. That's a good indication that the mother's a low ranker. So looking at the cub, especially in comparison to these two at the same age, Corky's one does look slightly weaker, and it will be absolutely fine, but it just shows that Corky's maybe not getting access to the best food herself, not producing such strong milk as Ribbon is. Ribbon is, of course, the matriarch now, and one of the benefits of being the matriarch is that you get lots of access to food. You get first dibs, if you like, when that buffet opens. Corky, being the lowest ranker, probably does not. Now, I have lots of unanswered questions about the hyenas. I don't understand why we never see Heart. I also don't understand why Heart has not had a litter at 5 years old, that we can see anyway. I don't understand why we're not seeing Corky around, and I also don't really know what's happening with June. Now, June was the mother. June was always the mid-ranker, always the sort of easy one, right in the middle, never high, never low. And I think that's quite a good place to be if you're a hyena. She's the mother of Sutu and Tswalu. Now, we see Sutu at the den all the time, but yet we never see June. What is going on? Okay, I'm going to try and reposition a little bit better here, see if there's any other hyenas around, but it appears that Eric has found a hyena of his own.
We just started moving away from one of Ngala's boundaries to check a waterhole, and we've got two hyenas that are walking straight down the road towards us. And by the looks of things, I mean, they've stopped and they're listening every now and again. They could be missioning, and they look like they're following the same path that those lions might have taken a little bit earlier. So they could be trailing the very back end of the pride, in case the pride might have managed to kill something. And let's just see how that one reacted. It turned and sniffed in the grass. And so it might have just picked up a little scent that it wanted to smell. I love the way that they walk, how their heads drop down and their shoulders swing from side to side. It's coming quite close to us, but it is moving away from us. Not. And the second one is down the road again. And this one's got very, very, very dark legs. So it almost looks like it's slightly younger, but it looks like it's pretty much an adult. But those ears are much bigger in comparison to its face, so it looks like it's still got a bit of growing to do. And they'll feel very comfortable at this time of day to be moving around. And that bar is perfectly positioned to block the view of the hyena. So they seem to be heading off in the opposite direction that we're wanting to go towards. So I think we'll continue on with our morning and see what else we can find for today.
Three. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Juma Private Game Reserve. It's a very, very wonderful day today. Sorry, that's my radio. It is a wonderful day today. So my name is Raymond. By the camera, we also have got Craig. So, yes. So we are right on a sighting of 3 female. We did manage to kill the buffalo. So you're welcome to Live Safari. You can ask any question on hashtag or on YouTube. Hashtag wildlife, wild F, or YouTube. You can get your comments and questions. So it is a wonderful day for me. I never saw 3 female lions manage to kill a fully grown buffalo. Mostly I know it's the male one who managed to kill the buffalo, the fully grown one. I know that the female one, they only kill the young ones, the calves. Whatever as you see, you can see that she's showing that no, this is really, really me who managed to knock this buffalo down. It is too much for 3 female, this food. Maybe as it is a pride, Steve told me that Ngungoma pride, maybe the others, they're going to join them in order to help each other to down this, finish this meat. Because this one, 3 of them, they can't finish this meat. It will be finally helped by the vultures or hyenas, but they will stay here until the meat gets rotten. But I believe as it yes, Mary, even myself, as I said, it's my first time to see 3 female buffalo, 3 female lions manage to knock down the fully grown buffalo. No matter it's a female one, but 3 females for fully grown buffalo, it is very rare. I only saw them today. I heard this story from last night. I didn't believe from Rex, one of the guide over here told me that. I said, no, you are lying. 3 female, they can't kill a buffalo. I said, believe me, it is true. So now I see it, it is true. Yeah, we're gonna stay here for a while until a little bit later. Maybe the other pride will come and join them.
Alright, so these lions have just started to hunt. Now, the 3 youngsters are staying on the road. I hope that they move off the road because they're going to be seen. They're exposed, they're in the open. But one of the adult females has just peeled off to the left. And I'm sure that, I think that one there's the younger of the 2 adults. That's going to the right. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's not warthogs. There's often warthogs in this area this time of the morning. If you have a look there quickly, Marcel, on the left, you'll see that that's where the oldest lioness of this pride is, and looks like she's looping around far to the left. And I wonder if either she's not going to chase the warthogs towards this group, or maybe the other female's going to chase it towards her. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens. I'm going to edge forward slightly in a couple of minutes, but I just want to give them a little bit more of an opportunity to keep on moving. But I'm a little concerned that these youngsters of this pride are going to give their position away. You can see how the one's walking smack bang in the middle of the road. There's no grass, there's not too much cover. I think fortunately for them, the grass to the left is a little bit long and there's a bit of a dip on the other side. And I wonder if they can't maybe hear or smell something up here. Warthogs are notoriously for being noisy. They grunt quite a bit. And there is a decent breeze that's blowing from them towards us. So that would make me think that they could be smelling something up ahead as well. This could be interesting. Just a warning for those of you who are sensitive viewers, particularly if it is a warthog, it can get a little bit gruesome and noisy. Areas, but judging by the way that they're moving, I'm almost 100% sure that they definitely know something's up ahead. This area over here is an area where we also see wildebeest, zebra, impala walk through, but I just have a feeling that it's a warthog. I don't know why, but I just have a feeling it's a warthog. There we go, that's great news. The youngsters have now moved into the grass, which means that they won't be seen.
Sutu is just having the best time at the den here. The cubs keep popping in and popping out. And Sutu just wants to play. That was incredibly puppy-like. Sutu was born in December 2018. So she's going to be 2 this year, at the very end of the year. And she is June's daughter. Now, sadly, her litter mate, Swana, who's also a female, was last seen in November 2019, so that is slightly worrying. I'm really not sure if Swana is still alive, which is heartbreaking. But what confuses me is, as I mentioned, June was always this sort of middle girl. Mid-ranked, we'll call her. And we never see her around the den. I actually caught up with June at a Tandy sighting recently, so she's alive and well. She looks massive, full belly. Flopped over ear, but, you know, it gives her character. But Sutu is always here, and I actually had a discussion about this recently. I wonder if it's possibly Sutu is higher ranked than her mother. Why is she always at the den, so comfortable with Ribbon, Ribbon's so comfortable with her, and yet we never see her mother? Question marks in the Juma clan still remain strong. It's going to be impossible to really, really see what's going on until we see Ribbon interact with. Now, this is what Lauren calls full of beans. Are you taking a tantrum, Sutu? I think we're taking a tantrum, but I'm not sure why. I think she's going to pretend to go to sleep, but we're not actually going to go to sleep. So yes, excuse the rain, Paul, everybody. Our Beard, you are right. Good to hear your name, and Lauren is definitely back. She starts her day at the hyena den. Where else would I be? But I know we've not been able to see. I don't think we've been spending a lot of time with the cubs lately because, of course, if there's not a slightly older hyena around, like Sutu as a babysitter right now, then we don't spend time with the cubs alone. And Sutu is just full of beans. She's also young, of course. You can see that. You can actually see she's young just by looking at how fluffy she is. As hyenas get older, they tend to be, well, appear less fluffy. And Sutu just loves spending time here. Hyenas are social by nature. And especially the young ones, they just want to spend time with each other. But Sutu's rank is definitely interesting. Where does she sit on this wonderful hyena ladder? Where are you going, madam? Oh, we're running. Oh. Well, Sutu has ran right out of the picture. I think she's gone, everyone, which sadly means we will have to leave. But at least we got to catch up with Shimbulu and Ngwazi for a little while. Let me just double check. She ran that way. Okay, I think she's gone, which means we are going to leave and see what else we can find for the morning.
Yes, I believe that they did enjoy the hyenas as it is. So we are still right over here on a sighting of those female lioness, female lions, I would say lioness. So the other one is still busy feeding. It was incredible, what had been happened. Steve missed this kill in about 4 minutes because he was the one who found them last night. I was also coming. I saw him together with them. I turned off. So he was following him, following. By the time when he left, about 5 minutes, so they made the kill. It was incredible. But now I just only hear the sound calling the site. There is another lions calling. Maybe they're going to come and join this one because I believe this one, after when they made the kill, they should call a little bit more, 3 to 4 times that, oh guys, we did win on top of our journey. You can see that one. They did almost finish the bump. They're starting by the bump where it's fresh meat. That the others, when they come, it will be a big competition because if they did arrive at the one time, all of them, each and everyone want to get a little bit more piece more done. Oh, look at that leg, it's just only the bone left. The rest of the fresh meat, it's almost done. So as they are full, they don't have to compete. But at the first time when they're eating, they make a big competition. So if there is also a male one, he's trying for the young ones to make them scary in order for himself to get full first. Yes, we will wait over here until, as we heard some calling that site, it might be a pen that arrive. It will be more exciting when the competition starts.
So I was right and I was wrong. So these lions definitely smelled something up ahead. I can just tell by whatever they were hunting in the distance of where we saw them that they smelt it. But it was not warthog. And they have unfortunately been seen by the impala. So, ooh.
Yes, sorry for the interruption. So we are still on a line. So we heard another one just calling. And we also heard some, it seems as it will be more action soon as possible, because I also heard the Francolin calling. Maybe they just something, because the bush can surprise you. You will thought maybe it's something coming, while there is many things that can make those Francolin scary, to make a little bit more noise, as it is someone stepping on. So, but at this moment, it's only those three lions. That other one was still feeding. The other one, if you look a little bit that side, you go that side, you can see them. Their bellies are full. They're lying at the back to trying to get a little bit air for digestion, helping themselves to breathe in out. Yes, they do eat only that meat, but not that grass what they are eating. Those are the first thing to eat before they eat another meat. They like those inner side before they go for meat first. It is true, they do eat. That's why you can see there is some, if you can view very well, look carefully, you can see where they started to eat before they go for meat. You hear what it is? If you can get that sound, you can feel, yeah. So it is more opportunity for the lions to hunt the big animals. That the competition is very low, each and everyone got a sighting. But if they get something like impala, while there are three like this, it is less than 5 minutes. It will be nothing at all. Because one time, one bite, it's a big piece. So that's why they don't have to be stressed by the impalas. Can listen the audio of the bush that we are really live safari. Yes, Alistair, we will say it like that. But it's something very exciting for me as well, because as I said, that I never saw the female one manage to win. Yes, we will stay right over here for a while. Maybe the others, they will arrive soon.
Good morning, world. We are sitting here watching a lilac-breasted roller also wake up for the morning, just watching over its turf, fluffing itself up on this rather chilly and cloudy morning. But chilly, cloudy mornings sometimes bring us good luck in terms of other action out in the bush. Welcome to Prideland's Conservancy with Eco Training. I'm Michael Anderson. Behind the camera is Sebastian. Hey. And yeah, we've actually come to the place where that lioness was last night, just outside of our camp. And she's not here. We heard hyenas this morning, southeast of where we were, so we went to investigate there. Saw tracks and signs, but nothing too major. But we're going to stick around this area, maybe adventure around a little bit and see what else we can find on this cold morning. There was a little bit of rain last night, just a tiny bit of rain. And so yeah, everything is sort of settled right down because of that rain. And as you can see, this lilac-breasted roller is just sitting on a branch, fluffing itself up, trying to be warm. There's not much activity of insects at the moment, unfortunately. And because it's so cold and because it's rather damp, insects are also staying very still, which are this lilac-breasted roller's main source of food. But I'm sure tomorrow it's going to get nice. It's good morning, everyone. It's nice to have you all joining us. I can't tell you how excited I am to be out on safari with you. Now, the Seb, everyone says hi, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone.
Seb says hi back. He's excited to be here. But yes, the roller's going to stay right here, and we're also going to just stick around here for a little while just to see if we hear again a sound. We thought we had heard maybe a slight little contact call of a lion earlier, but it was just once, and then we heard nothing else. So, who knows? It's a mystery. We haven't seen her tracks either, unless she turned from a Viking to a Valkyrie and flew away. It'd be very interesting to know what this lioness has done and where she's gone. This lilac-breasted rollers looks very chilly, doesn't it? It looks very fat this morning, fluffy. See how it's fluffed itself up? It's trapping air underneath its feathers against its skin, which will then warm up with its body heat and then create this little warm jacket. Amberly, the bird is cute and it does have a very nice beak, a very functional beak. You can see if it turns its head towards us, you'll see this beak has a little bit of a hooked tip because it catches little insects and it uses that little hook to ensure the insects don't escape once it's been caught. It does have a cute beak, though. The beak is a little bit dirty. I don't know what it was doing earlier. Maybe it had a drink a bit earlier and dipped its beak into the mud, or maybe it caught an insect, I don't know. But it was actually cleaning its beak or its bill on the branch that it's resting on. Angie, these birds survive the cold weather by pretty much doing exactly what this one's doing. They huddle up, they fluff their feathers out. They are pretty waterproof. They have this kind of special oil that they get from a preen gland just above their tail that they rub through their feathers that keeps them relatively waterproof. And then they fluff their feathers out to trap that warm air next to its skin, which then warms up and becomes a bit like a parka, a little puffer jacket. You know, when you have a downy jacket on, you stay nice and warm, even if it's relatively thin, because it's trapping air. That's exactly what this bird and other birds will do. And yeah, because there's not much movement of insects which it eats, it will also stay pretty much still to save as much energy as possible. That's not to say that they always survive the cold. It's quite common in a cold snap that very small birds, unfortunately, don't make... Oh, there, it's cleaning itself again. Very, very small birds, if they don't get plenty of food, they can't maintain their body temperature, so they don't do too well in very, very cold weather conditions that come out of nowhere. But this roller is doing super great. He will be absolutely fine. Well, we are going to sit right here, watch this roller warm up, whilst we also get a little bit warmer.
We have come down towards one of the last water holes in the area to see if there's any signs of life, and not really too much going on the mammal front, but there are quite a few birds that are fluttering around. So this is the water hole that we're at. We're just watching a Birchall starling. There's been some hornbills and a couple of small little plovers that are a little bit tricky to show on air. But what I would like to do is just quickly show you exactly where we are and orientate us also. You have an idea of where we are in our plan for the morning. And so we left the tented camp this morning, and this is where we heard the lions. So the lions were calling, and I think they must have crossed in somewhere over here. So they're somewhere within the Kruger National Park. And then we've just checked these 3 water holes over here, and we're currently down at this one. And so there's not too much sign of life on this side. So what we might end up doing is just going straight up like this and then go check back up towards the river. We've been spending lots and lots of time around the eastern part of the river with those lions in the last couple of days. So we'd like to maybe see what's going on in the west. If we have time, we never know, we might venture off into one of the larger water holes in the western part of Ngala. So that's what our plan is looking like this morning. As you know, things change all the time, so it's not a very rigid plan, but we're going to keep on going and start making our way back up towards the river. So this one, I mentioned there's 3 water holes that were right in a row. MJ, I also love a map. It's so nice to just see what's going on visually rather than me trying to explain it. But so this is of the 3 water holes, this is the one with the most water in it. And so, I mean, it would make sense for animals, especially within this area, to make their way down to this water hole to drink. It might just be a little bit too early. Maybe they're feeling a little bit unsafe.
Yes, there is now, just to finish that other one, and I go down and joining the other 2 lying down right over there, where all the bellies, it look like more than its head. So you only see the bellies pumping up and down, up and down. That tell us it's almost full, but not yet full, because later on they will come and have a little bit peace. They're just only helping a little bit on digestion. And they will come back again and have a little bit of breakfast. Yes, Kruger, they are very solemnists. For me, I also believe that they're also brave enough. Yes, and you can be wondering what the Ngungoma pride are. Evenly myself, I also same to you, because this pride, it's not only 3, they're going to join them, but we don't know what time and when. But as they know where they are, maybe they're trying to get them. That's a wonderful noises to tell us that we are really, really in a bush. It is live on Nature Reserve. You're welcome. Ralph, not definitely 100% sure about these cups right over here. But right over here, we don't have any cup. But on this pride, I don't know how many cups there. Oh, Steve told me that there are 9. It's 9 cups. And I think it's 5 female one.
7 times 8.
Oh, sometimes 8. Say 7, but sometimes becoming 8. So if they are all together, it's almost about 15. That it will be enough food for the buffalo for 15 lions. Stay right over here for a while.
Well, I am on the move. Sutu just ran, I don't actually know where she ran, off into the middle of nowhere, which means we have to leave the down, I'm afraid. But I'm not saying I won't pop back later. I just think it's nice to be back on the reserve and take a bumble to see what else we can find. Now, I know that Mr. Chingana made an appearance when I was on leave. I'm no longer talking to that cat. But in all seriousness, the leopard dynamics are very, very different these days. There's lots of changes taking place and lots of adjustments. So I think it's going to be really exciting for me to get my teeth back into the leopard movements here. Who really is moving where? I think Shadulu, in my opinion, it's safe to say she's the most dominant female around here. She's got the western sector, she's pushing north, and she's pushing really far east. I think Shadulu is now our dominant female. Tandy is very much around. I think Trishala got very lucky with Tandy, but she just sticks to that southern eastern corner. She's not fully pushing in anymore. She's a much older leopardess. And Kalamba, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Kalamba. I need to try and figure out exactly what's going on with her movements. But I think the Duchess of the West is very much here to stay, which is of course exciting. She will be very familiar with Kalamba. She'll be very familiar with Tandy, solely by scent. It's really important when you're an animal, an individual animal, that you know who your enemies are. You know who your relatives are. You've got to be able to identify another individual of your own species, and they will be able to identify each other through scent, through the chemical cues that they leave across the landscape. Urine, feces, and even the sebum from their sebaceous glands will tell a lot. It will provide a lot of information to another individual, and that's really, really important. So they will all be aware of one another. They'll be familiar with one another, even if it's not by sight. Maybe they don't recognize one another by sight. Maybe it's just another leopard, just another female leopard. It's not until they smell the scent that they will think, aha, this is Tandy. As many of you know, animal communication fascinates me greatly. I think there's a lot that we miss being a human, and I've been digging really deep into animal intelligence. So I think we'll start today on that one. A little bit later on, hopefully, when I find an animal, we'll talk about the intelligence throughout the animal kingdom. Okay, so I'm not sure where I'm going to go yet. I'm going to see what I can find as the wind takes me. Sorry about that, everyone. I don't know what happened. I am sure all will be right as rain in just a moment once they fix their audio. So you're still with me and I'm still looking for animals. I was actually just discussing with Theo, it's a very different type of winter this year. Very different. There's far too much water, which is a good thing for the animals and for the landscape. But in terms of viewing animals, it's actually very difficult. Water is everywhere. I remember last winter here, before I went up to the Masai Mara, no, that was the year before, sorry, I'm talking nonsense. The water levels were just so low everywhere. The sightings of animals was incredible because they were all restricted to certain water points. They had no choice. And it was almost like a timeshare where the herbivores had to come in and be very alert to make sure the predators didn't come in. The leopards would be looking out for the lions would be looking out for the leopards. It's a lot of pressure at a water hole. You're leaving yourself vulnerable by bending over to drink and leaving yourself completely exposed. It's a very vulnerable position to be in, and that's why when a winter is harsh, not like this one, it's very difficult for the animals. They have to ensure that they drink water safely, which isn't always possible when every single animal out here is visiting the same water hole. But this year, water is just available everywhere, which I think is affecting the movements of all the animals around. Ruby, you're saying it's interesting to see the change considering all the water. Emma might have to elaborate on that one. Oh, the elephants. There's definitely been elephant activity, that's for sure. I think you maybe mean the change in landscape. Why it's still quite green. Yes, I agree. It's still very, very green, but winter's definitely here. It's dry, it's harsh, but especially in Djuma, in the northern sector of the Sabi Sands, it's very, very green. It's still very thick in areas. When I compare it to last year, it was a lot more barren, and that's exactly right, Ruby, because there's a lot of water. Oh my goodness, look at this cluster leaf. I wonder if it's movable. If it's movable, I'm going to try and move it. Shall we see? No, it's not movable, everyone. I tried. Okay, as I look for the elephants that have caused all of this destruction, we're going to send you across to Dylan at Tswalu to say good morning.
Good morning. It is another breezy but beautiful day out here at Tswalu Kalahari, and I'm so glad that you're all with us, and those that can't be, wherever you may be, whatever you're doing, I hope you stay safe, and we will see you later, I'm sure. It is just wonderful being out here with you. Old Davy on camera there doing an amazing job. My name's Dylan, and just when you think things can't get cuter, like when you've got like the peak of cuteness, and then you think, well, it can't get cuter than that, have a look at this. So we're just sitting at this dam again with the Shelby family, and all of those tiny little ducklings are sitting underneath Shelly. She's sheltering all 9 of them right tucked underneath her, because it's much colder today than it was yesterday. There's a strong breeze blowing, and you see there's no ducklings in that picture. They are all literally tucked underneath her. And just now, just before she sat down, we actually had like 1 or 2 little heads sticking out. So she's keeping them nice and warm just underneath her there. That must be so cozy and so toasty. But if anything, oh, there, you can just see the one's foot sticking out. A little body, tiny little body there, just on the front. Oh man, this is gorgeous, eh? Yes, this is adorable. So just every now and again you can see, I mean, there's 9 little ducklings underneath her. Can you believe that? Oh my, there you go. Yes, look at that. What a good mom, eh? Yeah, she's done so well to get them hatched all the way down to the dam. Safari Kitty says this is just adorable, and you are so right. And that's what I say, you know, just when you, and I always find it hard, you know, from an ecological background, you know, I try to look at these things from, okay, well, you know, there's an evolutionary role going on here, and things happen for a reason, that kind of stuff. But so you try kind of keep the anthropomorphic or anthropogenic side out, anthropomorphic side out of it, and say, well, you know, that's a duck just, you know, doing thermoregulation for a youngsters, that kind of stuff. And yet you cannot but help to look at that and say, my goodness, that is cute, eh? You know, and I always think, you know, you get to a level where you think, oh, that's just amazing, and then something even better happens like this. I mean, just, and look at old Sheldon there standing there on the left. He's on guard duty. He is not going anywhere. He's just watching out for danger there. And if something comes along, immediately they're going to run into they're going to jump into the dam, and those little ones will actually disappear under the water. They'll go under the water to hide away. Now you must just think just how good their insulation properties are, because to go under the water, yeah, they obviously they're highly buoyant. They've got a little fat layer on them. Their feathers offer really good insulation properties as well. But still, I mean, you know, they'll get chilly. But mom will do that with them very, very quickly afterwards as well. So, and as we were looking at a little while back, that counter-current heat exchange in the legs, you know, with the warm blood from the artery coming down out of the body at body temperature, and then the return blood going up the leg, sitting right against that artery. So by the time that blood actually from those little legs get back into close to the body, it's only like 1 or 2 degrees below the body temperature itself. So now I know how I must keep warm. Instead of wearing long pants, I'll just keep my legs together. Like, for counter-current heat exchange, this is just going absolutely downhill from here. My goodness, I'm just gonna.
Yes, indeed, we had to relocate. We did a reposition for these lines before we managed to get those lines together with the caucus. So at this moment, we just move a little bit to reposition in order for all of us to view exactly all those lines. It is those lines to me, they look like as they are still teenagers. They are almost above 3 years to 4, or evenly more than 4 years, because Steve told me that it's almost about to go for ostrus. They are not yet on ostrus. They never been get birth. So it is incredible. It is the first time for us. I won't not say for me, for us. The young ones managed to down the fully grown buffalo. It is very, very, very rare. So as they are still young, there is no one who is fully grown. We have to direct them what to do. So that means this pride has been killing the buffalo many times. So they know, they did learn how to knock down the fully grown buffalo. And their braveness as well. Most of the time I know the lioness, if the buffalo just look at them, they do turn around and trying to run. Evenly the fully grown one, if the buffalo trying to, they turn around and run. Melody, I wish a lion you will be brave enough to knock the buffalo down. Yeah, I believe it as well myself, but it is a little bit difficult to live, because sometimes you won't find food and you need to work hard in order to get food. So for them, they did work hard in order to knock the fully grown buffalo. So it is something special which I will never ever forget even in my life. And for yourself as well, you wish you would be a lion today, because it's nice, because they did win. If they will fail, you will say, oh, what I'm going to eat. We'll stay here for a while.
Hey, goodbye, giraffe. We did have a giraffe, a beautiful giraffe. We call him TDH, tall, dark, and handsome. But now he's just proving just how well camouflaged he can be for a huge animal. But if we look a bit closer at this giraffe, you can just see how dark his coloration is. Those patches are almost sable in color, dark, almost black, dark chocolate, yes. And we were just making a joke now that he's the most beautiful giraffe that we've seen on the whole of Pridelands, but his personality must not be that great, because he has no ladies around him, whereas our giraffe yesterday had all the ladies. So that's quite interesting. But what is actually really interesting about him, apart from his wonderful coloration, is that it's eating for the last few days tambuotes, which is this other tree, which is actually almost the same color as this giraffe. He's well camouflaged to hide his embarrassment at being beaten to the ladies. But these tambuotes are quite toxic. You know, they are filled with a milky latex that, if we as human beings were to eat even one of these leaves, we'd probably have a runny stomach, very, very uncomfortable, and if we ate a whole hospital, it would be serious. But this giraffe is eating literally mouthfuls and mouthfuls of this tambuoti and seeming to suffer no ill effects. It's amazing that they can stomach such a toxic plant. I mean, if we even got a little bit of these leaves in our eye, a little bit of this latex, we can go blind, or at least temporarily. It's serious stuff. And yeah, I wonder if maybe there's a health benefit to giraffes for eating this. Controlling stomach parasites, maybe the toxicity means the parasites end up leaving the body in the dung of the giraffe. I'm not sure. It's very interesting. I'd love to know if there are any theories around. I know, Natalie, I can't help it. Giraffes are just turning into my favorite thing, much to Seb's dismay. But I love giraffes. I mean, the one yesterday was super cool. And this guy is so handsome, I can't help but stop every time I see him and try and see if we can get him on camera. But this... Ooh, there's a interesting... At Ngala, there's a little bit of a feathered roadblock.
this is probably the longest I've ever been able to sit and watch these birds that are on screen at the moment. And they're called Coqui francolins. So have a look at, as it turns, it's got a very, very orange head and then this very zebra stripe breast. And this is typically how we see them. We see them running away from us and then they just duck off into the bushes. But there seems to be a whole family of them. There's at least about 5 or 6 of them that are foraging around the road, looking and digging for any little seeds or little grubs. There's one that's actually right in the elephant dung as we speak. And so there he is, just on the right hand side. And they are such a pretty little francolin. I think for me, just with the whole colors, how those oranges and the blacks and the whites complement one another, probably one of my favorite francolins to see. And also one of the hardest ones to find, because they're not as common as the Swainson spurfowl or the Natal, the crested francolin. And so it's right in the elephant dung now, and I mean elephants are very poor digesters, so lots of that stuff passes straight through, and so they're quite capable of feeding on little seeds and other small little things that are being passed through the elephants. It seems like that's where the majority of the family's heading off to. It's amazing how they go to a flat-out sprint for 10 meters and then they just stop. And so we're just about to lose, I think, most of them. And what I'm finding quite interesting is all of these ones with the bright orange heads are males. And I've never really seen a whole group of males together like this before. I don't know if you saw that, but just before they started sprinting, they both hopped into the air. Okay, let's go forward again. There's the whole group of them now. So there's lots, there's about 7 or 8 of them. And they're all hopping around. What on earth are they doing? Okay, Owen, the 3 birds on the right hand side of the road, the furthest one away, the one that's now on the left, that looks like a female, the one that's just ducked into the grass, and she's got a couple of stripes that go down the side of her face, and so there's one female and the rest of them are all males, but it looks like there's a couple of bigger ones and the majority of them are slightly smaller, so it must be an adult male with about 5 almost mature youngsters, I'd say. Yeah, Chris, it looks like it's more of a dance or like a wrestling game or something more than a meeting. They seem to be quite active. And I'm sure they might just be competing over little grubs that they see. So that one in the middle of the 3 on the right hand side, that is a young female. So slightly blander in color. She doesn't have that very bright orange head. And then the streaking is pretty much the same. Sarah, this must be the Coqui Franklin's version of a chicken dance. They're putting on quite a show for us. Should we move forward a little bit, Owen? Okay, so we'll try and get one last view. They seem to be moving straight down the road ahead of us. And I mean, it's just quite special to see these birds out in the open like this for such a lengthy time. And I don't know why they're completely relaxed to us. But this really is the best views I've ever had of Coqui Franklin, so it's quite special. And they keep darting off the road, and then they come back. And they seem to, like, every now and again, they seem to be very focused on feeding, and then they all of a sudden just start jumping around and playing with one another. But it's quite interesting. I mean, if I am right, I mean, I'll try and see if I can read up about it. Megan, they are very camouflage, especially with that orange head and all of the mottling and the patterning on their backs. So when they duck into the grass, they disappear. But it's really interesting. If I am correct, I mean, I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like it's the adult male with the youngsters. And I mean, I'm not too sure about their breeding behavior, but you would almost assume that it would be the females that would be responsible in the upbringing of the chicks. Maybe with the Coqui Franklins it's slightly different. Maybe the male's responsible for looking after the chicks. Also so nice to hear some of the birds calling around us. There's African hoopoes calling. So we're going to see if we can maneuver past these dangerous looking Coqui Franklins and then maybe try and continue on with our drive. And so we'll send you across to some sleeping lions whilst we try and get across and past these little Coqui Franklins.
Okay, Franklin, you were supposed to play with me over here together with the lions. I'll be interested as well. So, Franklin, it's another bird which sometimes notify the danger if it's coming. For example, leopard and lion, they do notify the other animals that they can be aware about it. So, those flat cats, still like as it is now, they also need a little bit more sun and rolling up, trying to help their bellies to get a little bit more digestion. So I also have got a little bit more information that Steve told me about this pride. It is Ngoma pride, as they are having sort of like those 9 cubs. They are not all at the same age. Some of them, they are 2 years. 1 year. Yeah, they born last year. So some it's 6 months, and some how many months?
Yeah, so June,
Yeah.
September, January, December.
The others, they're born in December. That's those who are for December, they are a little bit older. So I believe, as he told me about, almost a little bit about how they are operating. I also heard one of Juma guy told me that this pride, normally they go for buffalo. That's why this one managed to wean while they're still young, they do go for mostly on a buffalo, this pride. So they are well experienced to knock down the buffalo. So I also hear the hyena calling that nice siren. And then it is not at all the hyena can come to join over here while they are still here, because they need to double check if it's there any male, because the male doesn't act like the female one, because the female one, they can manage just only to chase them and turn back, but the male, he just kill them directly straight. So they do afraid where they haven't double check exactly how it is. They can come and stay a little bit far behind, double checking if it's there any male. If there is no male, like over here, it's a female one, they'll get closer to trying to take over. If it is a small meat, while they are relaxing like this, if it is small left, they can pinch and run off. So, but for this one, they won't come, it's still full meat. And those one, they won't go anywhere. They need to protect the food until the others arrive. We also see some impalas coming. Just for a while, yeah.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
Davy and I, we're just ambling around. We're on our way to the meerkats. So Rebecca did a fantastic job yesterday in relocating the little group. And they've actually moved back to what we call Boskia Burrow. That was that really small burrow system out in that big open exposed area that Jandre and I spent a bit of time at a couple of weeks ago. So they've moved out there now. I don't know how long they'll spend there in terms of whether it'll be days or weeks or what's going on there. But that's where we're headed now. And on the way, you know, maybe we find a wildcat. You never know. But we should be there in about half an hour or so. So in fact, this area that Davy is on now, these big open areas here, this is where that burrow system is. It's up in this area here. So Chris has asked a great question about the shell ducks, and it's actually a question that I've been asked off air a number of times as well. And the question that Chris has asked is, will those shell ducks actually ever go back to the nest now? Or will they just stay at the dam? That nest is done and dusted. Those shell ducks are going to be at the dam until those chicks are big and they move off to fend for themselves one day. So yeah, that nest, so we won't be going back. But what we will do, and Davy and I chatted about it yesterday, I would like to go back to the nest and we'll do a little piece there on one of the drives in the near future where I can actually show you the nest site itself. I can show you where we were sitting, what we were doing, how we made the setup work. But what is interesting about that question is that they have been known to utilize the same site a couple of years consecutively. So, you know, if they've had a successful breeding season, which we know these ones have, then there is always that chance that they will go back and reuse that site. So I'm very, very pleased that we actually got it. And, you know, maybe next season we'll be lucky and get another batch of ducklings coming out there. But yes, they are cute, and I really hope that all of them make it. But But you see how those parents look after him, eh? Yeah, they don't let those little things out of their sight. Eh? So that's so fun. Now we got the meerkats with the little pups. We got the shell ducks. And it just shows, things happen out here even in winter. And it's any environment. Often you think, oh, well, you got to wait for summer for things to start breeding. It's not the case at all, eh? Often it's normally the case, but things have evolved all these really cool, weird, different strategies to survive in these different environments.
We've got a really small giraffe and its mother, but this youngster's just out in the open, and look at the belly. And look underneath the belly, there's that long piece of string-like thing that's attached to it. And that's still its umbilical cord. And so this young giraffe is still very, very young. And so sometimes it takes about between 6 and 8 weeks for that umbilical cord to fall off. It will eventually dry out and wither and then just drops off basically. And so it must be, if I had to guess, between 5 and 6 weeks old, something like that. It's a little bit taller than a brand newborn, and it seems quite sure-footed. And it makes me wonder, about a month, or maybe a month and a half ago, Owen and I actually saw a very, very young giraffe who was literally a day or two old. And it's in a pretty similar area, so I wonder if it's not the same one. It might well be. So now that's really cool to see the mother leading the way. Very, very much darker than the light youngster. And a pretty good area for them to be in because it's nice and open. They can see, she can use her height advantage to scan, make sure that there's no incoming predators, because this little youngster will be incredibly vulnerable, particularly to lions. Being so small, it's got no defenses. The mother, though, will try and as much as she can to defend it. And as they're walking away, look at how much those white ears stand out in comparison to the rest of their bodies. That's literally almost all you can see if you just glance at your screen and back. And the youngster's got exactly the same white ears behind, or at the back of the ears. So she's just about to disappear into the tree line. There is another one actually, slightly further. If you go right in the tree line, there's another giraffe that's just made an appearance. It's probably been there the whole time, but I haven't seen it. And it's looking down in exactly the same spot. It hasn't moved its gaze. I wonder if it's not spotted some movement. It could be something as simple as a herd of impala or something like that caught its eye. Now that it's averted its gaze away, it seems like it's lost interest in whatever it spotted. I've been scanning into the tree line to see. Claire, it is very peaceful to be out in the bush like this and watching these giraffe behaving naturally, walking through these open plains is really something. And it's not only the giraffe, it's the bird noises, it's the nice breeze that you can feel on your skin. It's just a combination of all of this is just really peaceful. And I've just spotted, oops, no, never mind. I thought I saw a really small raptor, but as it perched, it revealed itself to be a dove. So this youngster isn't spending any time feeding. It's probably got its full, probably mostly feeding on milk still. And so it's spending more time exploring and just looking around it, where the female seems to be moving from bush to bush and feeding on the leaves. It looks like we're going to lose the view, or our view, of this giraffe very shortly. So I think we'll continue on. We're only about 15-20 minutes away from the river now, so let's maybe start heading in that direction to see what we can find.
Yeah, that's nice giraffes. You know, that's interesting about giraffe. While I was still young, not now, because now the people are respect me, they were calling me young giraffe because I'm so tall. So even when I saw the giraffe, it's sort of like a bad memory for me that they're using to call me young giraffe, young giraffe. They're calling me young giraffe, and I finally, when I get firstborn, I said no, the baby giraffe can't get a birth. I'm a fully grown giraffe now. Don't call me a young giraffe, just call me a giraffe, because I'm so tall. So they used to call me giraffe, whatever, those friends of me. It is something special for animals that the giraffe are very good, and they can see far from the distance. That's why for them, as they are not that much speed running, but their eyes, it is more 100% running more than their legs. They can run, see far from the distance. So those cats are still flat cats, just only to turn around a little bit, show their bellies they are, and waiting for the sun to be with them in order to stretch. You see the other one stretching. They can even say boo, because the bellies are full by stretching. Yes, the Tswalu Kalahari.
What an incredible scene and setting for this herd of giraffe. And you can just see how windy it is today with that dust. They're ambling along there very slowly, probably moving down to different areas to go feed. And you can just see that dust kicking up from their hooves and how it's blowing in the wind. Sure, it is really breezy and really cold today. Interesting to see what time the meerkats come out. I think they've got a nice bit of shelter at the burrow system that we'll be at, so they might be out already, but we'll see in a couple of minutes. We'll be up there shortly. But I couldn't resist stopping with these giraffe. It is so beautiful. Debbie says that is a journey of giraffe. Totally right. Love it when they walk in long lines. And sometimes you get these like epic shots out here of them cresting a dune, and you get like giraffe after giraffe after giraffe, and they're just coming over these dune crests. And if you can get that at sunset or sunrise, sheesh, that is something to see. Ooh, there's a lion doing a split in a tree, I think, somewhere. I think at Pinda. Pop over there and we'll see you later.
Almost doing the splits in the tree, Dylan. Yeah, so we've left the other Pride of Lions that were with Mountain Pride, and we've just come further south to Bayala Pride, and we've come to quite a dramatic scene at the moment. So to the right of this male in the tree, and we'll go to him shortly, he's trying to mate with one of the adult females, and she's not having any of that. And because this is frustrating him, he's taking it out on all the cubs. And this cub in particular climbed up into this tree to get away from the big male. So you might hear some growling from time to time, and if they do start to growl, I will keep quiet so you can hear them. But is the male and the female busy growling at each other? He's hoping to mate, but this male's decided, well, I think the best way for me to get away from my dad is up here in the tree. But what a... Here we go, listen. Oh, it's the female busy growling at the male. Unfortunately, we can't really see them where we are now. We will go to them shortly, but I think, wow, we've got this male trying to do some acrobatics in the tree here. Let's stick with him for a bit. It's always such a treat to see lions up in the trees, and this pride in particular loves to put on a bit of a show up in a tree. And this particular tree that then is a marula tree, which makes the famous amarula drink that I'm sure you've all heard about. And I think he was thinking that his father, who is much larger than what he is, might not be able to climb into this tree. And so he climbed up into this tree, and then the father instead decided to chase all the other 4 young males who are now scattered all around us at the moment. But the female's doing a very good job to avoid the male. She's just plonked herself in the thicket where she knows that the male can't really get into, and would battle to try and mate with her in there. But hopefully she'll come out shortly and we can show you what has been happening there for the last little while. Wow, have a look at those claws. You'll see from time to time, particularly when this young male starts to lose his balance, he'll bring his claws out just to grip onto the tree a bit, just so he doesn't fall out. He's not too high up, maybe only about 6-8 feet up. So if he was to fall out, he probably wouldn't be injured at all. But it's a little bit of a tricky tree to climb in. There's no flat branches. Everything is at an angle. Lizards, they most certainly do. Leopards, their whole design and their whole behavior is to be able to climb around trees and to climb up and down and move around a tree very elegantly. Lions, with just their general size and their typical behavior, they're not as adapted to climbing trees as what a leopard is. But as you can see, they most certainly can climb a tree. My favorite part of lions being in a tree is actually watching them try and get down, because that they have no elegance at all while climbing down a tree. There we go. Let's listen. Oh, there comes one of the young males, came bouldering out of the long grass. So at the moment in front of us, we've got 1 in the tree, 2 below the tree. Oh, they've just run to the other side. They're busy playing now. With them being on the other side of the water, so there's a bit of water to their right, and the males on the other side of the water, they won't be too concerned about the male because there's a bit of water between them. Looks like this male's about to climb out the tree now. Maybe he wants to go join his 2 brothers while they play around. Oh, he's battling to get out. Oh, he's finding a nice route down on the other side where a branch has been broken off, probably from elephants. Oh, that is just so stunning. Now he's decided, do I jump down or do I climb back up? I think he's going to climb down. Creeps down to the bottom as much as he can. What a fantastic, fantastic viewing. The lions here on Pinda always seem to put on a bit of a show. So I just want to see what these 2 youngsters are going to do, and if they don't come out from the thicket, we might try just edge forward a little bit and see what the adult female and male are up to. Maybe we'll get lucky with a little bit of interaction there. Yeah, unfortunately it doesn't look like these youngsters are going to come out just yet, so let's move just a little bit forward. It's only about 10 meters or so. I'm going to approach slowly as not to upset anyone or give everyone a fright. I can see the female's coming out of... I'm just going to go back. We might get some interesting behavior here. There we go. there you'll see she's busy snarling. She's got her ears pinned back. That male is just behind her to the right, sitting down like she is to prevent him from trying to mount her. Just going to keep quiet so we can hear some growling. There's definitely going to be some more growling now. She's busy watching the youngsters play on the other side of the waterhole. So I think if she takes a step forward, the male will probably stand up and try and approach her. And you'll probably see she'll pin her head back, growl, warning to him that if he tries to mount her, she will give him a decent smack. There we go, there's some growling. Well, okay, she is absolutely gorgeous and fierce. I mean, such a beautiful creature. When they do tend to growl, pin their ears back, snarl, they can be quite terrifying. And this male that's behind her, one of the Biala males, is equally as gorgeous, if not even more so than what she is. See, one of the young males caught their attention to the right. They just heard some walking, and he's getting out of there. He's heard the growling. He doesn't want to have any of this male's frustration taken out on him. So he's going to go join up with his 4 other brothers. She's in a bit of a tricky position because she probably wants to lie down, but if she lies down where she's on the heel, it'd be so uncomfortable. Male's busy scent marking in the tree, trying to state his dominance while marking his territory in this area. I'm sure if she walks a little bit further, he will try and follow her. There he comes. No. You can see he's a little bit cautious of her. He's walking around her gingerly. He knows that if he approaches her too quickly, she's going to react, and not in a good way or positive way for him. So he's busy rubbing his head in the tree, trying to get the scent gland that he's got just behind his eyes. No, Patty, she's not impressed at all. See how she's busy digging at the ground there, trying to make the sand a little bit more flat, so it's a little bit easier for her to lie down. But it's not a very comfortable area. I'd imagine she'll probably want to try to get to some more flat ground on the other side of this waterhole, or maybe go back to the thicket that this male's busy scent marking in. He's trying to display as much dominance towards her as possible, get his scent all around, hoping that maybe she will submit. Now, I would be very surprised if this female is in full estrus. These cubs are just over a year old. That being said, some lionesses do still go in estrus when their cubs are that young, but typically she'll only go into full estrus in maybe about 6 months, probably closer to a year's time. She's just watching what he's doing. And it's so funny to watch him. He's so tentative around her. It's almost like he's trying to act cute at the moment, putting his head through the bushes. But I think he better watch out. I think if he takes a couple of steps more towards her, she's going to react. Let's see. He's thinking about it. Oh, she just growled there and he took a step back. He knows what's good for him. Oh, beautiful shaking of the mane. if you had seen that yesterday when we had rain, you would have seen water droplets flying in the air, which would have been spectacular. See how she's keeping a close eye on him. And just by her watching him is that body language which would tell her, or sorry, would tell him that she's got her eyes on him. Alright, so I'm gonna stick around here for a little bit longer, but we're gonna head over to Ngala to see what's happening there.
We've literally just found this nice head of zebra, and it's this one in the foreground was sitting watching us. It seems like it's relaxing and grazing again, but it does seem like they are moving in our general direction, so it'll be cool if they do get a little bit closer. But as he puts his head down, or it, not sure if it's a male or a female yet, just look at how broad those black stripes are, especially around the rump. So it's quite a striking looking zebra. And then there's a couple more off to the right hand side. There's about 3 or 4 of them at least that we can see here. And we're very close to the river now. We can almost see it from here. And these zebras are just grazing in these nice big open areas that we have just south of the river. See, they're not in any rush to move anywhere. And we were saying it's been quite interesting with this overcast weather. There was at least a little bit of rain last night. And so the grass would hold a little bit more moisture than it would have in the last 3 weeks or so. And so maybe these zebras won't even need to go and have something to drink if they feed in this very wet grassland this morning. That's a good point, Lisa. I mean, they do seem to have very, very pronounced black and white stripes. And it could be because of the little bit of rain that we had. It might have just washed their coats. That one on the left-hand side is striking, though. And it might be because of the rain. I mean, there's a good possibility that they could have got a slight little wash. And I mean, in zebra and within southern Africa have usually always got a shadow stripe, so between the two black stripes, especially on the rump, you'll see this faint brownish looking stripe. This one seems to not have it. It's not very pronounced at all, and I think that's maybe something that's just making it look a lot more striking than what some other zebras usually look like. But I mean, the patterns on zebras is just so fascinating, and I love the way how those stripe patterns go from the neck all the way up into the mane, and it's perfectly uniform. Works all of the time. I mean, it's just exactly the same as the neck patterns, and as it looks at us, that diamond stripe or the diamond patterning on its forehead is also very captivating. We've been seeing 1 or 2 zebra very close to the lodge. So actually, yes, there are a few different species of zebra, and they all look very similar, but they do definitely have their differences. Within the low veld areas of the Kruger National Park and South Africa and all the way down into the coast, you tend to only get one species, which is the Burchell's or the plain zebra. And that's the same species, it's the most abundant one. So it's the same species that you'll find all the way up into East Africa. And then once you start going into slightly different habitats, so in the deserts of Namibia, there's a different one. There's a mountain zebra. Okay. So whilst these zebras are peacefully grazing, let's send you quickly across to Pinda, where there's a little bit more action with those lions.
So they were just fighting with each other. As the female walked off, the male tried to approach her, probably trying to mate again. I'm just going to edge forward a bit just to get past this thicket, but the female's having absolutely none of it. So if you're ever out on safari by yourself and you come across a scene where you see female, this is the female. It's very typical for mating lines for the male to always keep her or so, no matter where she goes. And as you can see, that's exactly what he's doing. Had some signal issues there. Apologies for that. We are quite close to a hillside. Unfortunately for this pride, if these two right, unfortunately, I believe I'll try to find a tunnel to view these lines. But for now, let's head over to Juma at one of their watering holes.
Okay, we just moved from the sighting of the flat-cat lioness, which they didn't do anything yet. They're still very, very relaxed. So we decided just to come over here on Cheetah, on a Cheetah waterhole, where most of the time, sometimes we get a very nice sighting of the birds and a nice sound of the hippos calling, and as well as the hippos to view them. It is a very, very, very special dam around this area, which have got more hippos more than the other dams here at Cheetah. So I'll just move a little bit forward if we're lucky to get a sighting of the hippos that we can manage to see. Very fantastic area for the birds. And some other birds which we don't have to see, it is more opportunity. Like fish eagle. We do get fish eagle most of the time right here. I don't know, maybe Craig will manage to get that fish eagle. Let's try it if we are not winning. If we are not winning for that one, we are not winning. But if we win, you can see the black and white bird. Which is also part of hunting. Oh yes, you're winning. That's a fish eagle. Very nice bird when it's calling. So can I have a little bit quiet to listen the sound of the birds? Oh, that's nice. It's fly off. Let's try to reposition ourselves on the hippos.
After much searching, I think I have just came across a Talamati pride. I cannot believe it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 lionesses that I can currently see. There's probably some missing. And we have a male to the other side, who I think is dark mane. Now, we've just arrived on the scene and they are flat, but they're not the Nkuhumas, which means I found a Talamatis, which is great news. I haven't had a proper sighting with the Talamati pride, and they are on Djuma. For those of you who know the property, here we go, sleepy boy. You never leave the Talamati's side, do you? Security, being surrounded by females. So yes, they are on Djuma, but right on that northern cut line. So there's lots of sort of thoughts that the Talamati pride could be pushing down into Djuma. Now, Djuma normally belongs to the Nkuhumas, but from the north, the Talamati pride are just pushing down. When you're in your prime, like the Talamati pride are, then of course they want a bigger area. They want bigger traverse, shall we say, expand that territory always. I don't see any kills. I don't smell anything. I just see a lot of sleepy lions. Wow. Now I have to say the lion that's on her back with her paw up has the purple eye, or the blue eye, should we say. I think this is the oldest lioness, and it hits her right eye that's damaged. So it's not purple eye from the Nkuhuma pride, but she has a very similar sort of look to her and is blind in one eye. This is so exciting. We've been driving around for a long time today, and finally, Theo actually spotted these tawny cats lying in the grass. Now, winter has its advantages for lions because they can camouflage a lot easier. The colour of their hair blends in very, very well in the winter vegetation. So they're really not too far away from the lionesses that Raymond had. We are on the northern cut line and they're on the southern cut line, but still both on Djuma on the eastern side, which is interesting. I just wonder if I'm missing count of an adult. Other than the sleepy male. With the Avoca Coalition, they were born in an area called Avoca in 2013, so they're 7, they're in their prime, and Darkmane is quite severely injured. I think he had a bad break, and the bones in his leg did not heal very well, so he's not extremely mobile. He can walk, of course, he can get from A to B. I imagine he'll still be able to hunt small things. But I personally don't feel he can keep up with the other 2 Avocas very well, Blondie and Mohawk. And that's why he just decides to stay with one pride, which is the Talamati pride, as is easier for him. When you're a coalition of males, you will be dominant over many prides of females. Doesn't have to be 1 or 2, but I think it's easier for Darkmane to just stay with the Talamatis. He gets food, he gets comfort, and he gets to be around the ladies. So I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay with the Talamati pride for now.
So we just got to the meerkat burrows and there's absolutely no sign that they've actually come out yet this morning. They are definitely in this burrow system, and you'll recall this is that little system that we were here probably, now it was 5-6 weeks ago that we got this burrow system. So they've now moved back to it with these pups. But with this cold breeze that's blowing, and it really is nippy this morning, there's no sign of them just yet. But they've got a bit of shelter over here. There's holes on that side, closest to Davy there. There's one or two entrances on the right-hand side, out of the wind on this end. So perhaps they'll pop out there and then move around this way. I don't know yet. But with this wind, it's probably going to be a little while yet before they actually make an appearance. And it's almost certainly going to be that alpha female or that dominant female, and then followed by the others. But the pups will be a little while yet, I think. But we'll stick it out. We'll stick it out and just see what time they come out. There's absolutely no rush on these things. Good things take time. Yeah, Wild says they are definitely still in bed, as they would be. Yeah, no, me too. Maybe that's an idea. We'll bring a bed out here. We can just, like, you know, sleep in, just watch the meerkats. Nah, I wouldn't want to do that. I'd rather be out and about. Too much to see and too much to do. But we'll give it some time, yeah. And, you know, we've got a nice area that we can scan, so maybe we'll see something like a wildcat.
I do believe that the meerkats are still active, whatever as it is. Some people, they do like meerkats like myself. I am happy when I say standing with the two legs and looking as they were talking, as they were begging. Whatever they standing up, it looked like something that they were communicating with you. So right over here, we're still in Cheetah Waterhole, where, as I said, it's lots of hippos at this dam. There's one of the hippo, which they are mostly active during the night to come out for grazing. The hippo at all, it's an inland animal, can't breathe inside the water, and can't swim. They just only walk inside the water, and they have to pop up in order to get air to breathe. So long time ago, the hippo was the most dangerous to African people. Besides now is the second dangerous. The dangerous animal, it is the mosquito, which is very, very tiny and small, but is the most people afraid of. Anyone, when talking about mosquito, is only thinking about malaria. But we, as immune with that, we don't take any malaria tablet or malaria pills or malaria injection. We just be like that. So the hippo now doesn't have any problem to African people because we are separated with the animals. We're staying together, alone. The community staying to community, the animals staying together with the animals. We're trying to protect ourselves against the animals. The animals, they have to look at us like as part of the animal, not to look at us like as we are the predator. Because long time ago, the African people were living by those animals. In order to live, they're getting meat from the animals. Sorry guys, before I finish my story, it was sort of like a sound of the hippo that I wanted you to hear this audio, that if it's calling or it's grumbling, can get shivering. They've got a huge sound as well that can make everyone get scary.
So a very typical situation here when the cat's gone, the mouse come out to play. So the male and female have moved off away from this area, and the 5 youngsters are now out and about, busy playing with each other, busy tackling each other. This one clearly is a little bit thirsty after having a little bit of fun, and thought it should take just a quick little water break. Always find it absolutely fascinating watching water lions as they lap up water. And I've always wondered, I don't know if any of you viewers back home might know, is how many mils of water does a lion lap up with one lap? It's always something that's fascinated me, because it's not a very efficient way of being able to get water. You would think sucking up would be much better, but then if you're going to suck up the water, you're going to suck up sand and debris, and that's most likely why cats have developed this way of drinking. And in the back behind this male, you might just be able to see through the trees the rest of the youngsters busy playing with each other. Oh, here comes one of the young males. He's busy stalking his brother. He knows that his brother's walking around the thicket, and he's using the thicket as an advantage to hide him. There we go, there we go. His brother hasn't seen him yet. Oh, I hope they don't fall into the water. A bit of a half-hearted attempt at tackling his brother there. I'm hoping that the others that are behind the thicket will come join up with these two, because they're nicely in the open. Whereas it seems to be the order of the day that the lions just keep wanting to move behind thickets where we cannot see them. There we go, you can hear his brother's playing, so he probably wants to go join up. Oof. I'm just waiting for one to go tumbling down this hill into the water. I think we'll have a very sorry wet cat if that happens. But this area around this waterhole is just like one big jungle gym for them. They've got trees that they can climb, lots of thickets to climb through. The slant of the there you go. The slant of the hill leading down, or the slope leading down towards the water, creates a little bit of a track, or so to speak, and also makes it a little bit more of a challenge when running around. I wonder if these two are going to play once the male at the bottom is finished drinking. Yep, I think so. Are we going to see a pounce here? A little bit of a swat. Oh, he's busy biting down on his brother's skin there. You can see that's actually hurting, just judging by the reaction of the male at the bottom. Now, he won't be biting down too hard. You probably won't see any blood that's drawn, but it's hard enough for him to have to growl at his brother. But you'll notice that when they play like this, they don't bring their claws out. Because if they were, those extremely sharp, long claws would cut up their siblings while playing. And so when they're pouncing and tackling, generally the claws don't come out. Sometimes accidentally they come out just enough to hook into the skin, and you might see a little bit of a wound. But there we go. If we have a look at the male now that's in the front, the one that had been bitten down on, we don't see any teeth marks. So it just shows you that he was biting down hard enough just to get a bit of a grip on the coat, but not too hard to penetrate the skin. you'll notice on the male that's walking in the back, very muddy and dirty, which tells me that these lions have probably been around this waterhole for most of this morning. We had some rain yesterday, and so this mud will still be wet, and the mud that's in this area is a bit of a black cotton soil, which does get quite mushy when it rains. And with them lying around this waterhole, they're going to get nice and dirty. But over the day, they'll groom themselves and groom each other just to get rid of any bit of that dirt. See, he's busy trying to ankle tap his brother. That's what they will do when they hunt. They'll ankle tap their prey to cause them to trip down. Right, while we stick with these lions, I think let's head over to Lauren.
I definitely have the Talamati Pride, which is fantastic. We've got 5 adults. There are only 5 female adults in the Pride, and we've got dark mane. So the cubs, I believe, are just slightly further away, but across the cut line onto Buffelshoek. And it's incredible. They look very different from the Nkuhuma Pride. Immediately, when you see them, you can see that it's not the Nkuhuma Pride that we have here. They look very, very different. Just saying hello to the other vehicle. And of course, they're on Juma, which is really, really good news. And I was reading a quote the other day, and the quote was, "If a lion could talk, we could not understand him. We would fail to understand the lion even if he or she spoke our language." And what this boils down to is animals perceive their own world entirely differently from how we perceive ours. And there's a concept that I regularly refer to. I love it. It's by a German scientist. I think you pronounce his name EXELBY. Yeah, that's my German accent. Probably not a winner. I apologize to all German people. I failed there, but you get the point. And his concept is Umwelt. And it's a German word, Umwelt, and it refers to the surrounding world. Hello. Wow, she's beautiful. Very different from the Nkuhumas. So yes, it means the surrounding world, and the concept that the scientists came up for was about each organism senses its own environment, perceives its own environment in its own way. So how we as humans see something, like for example, the area that we're in right now is not going to be how these lionesses perceive it. And there's a great example of the eyeless tick. Yes, there is a tick that has no eyes. And it climbs onto a grass stem and it quests. That's what ticks do. They quest. They lift their 4 limbs up, raise them, and try and latch onto anything delicious that walks by. And they're waiting to smell butyric acid. And this comes from mammalian skin. Whether we like it or not, it comes out of the mammal's skin, and they are looking to smell it. And as soon as they smell it and they feel the presence of a mammal, they'll then jump and hop on board to suck the blood. And there's various different experiments that show that this specific arachnid, the eyeless tick, can actually go 18 years without food. 18 years, can you believe it? That's how long it takes a human, well, at least in the United Kingdom, to be classified as an adult, 18 years old. And this means that there's plenty of time to wait for the right host, and once they do jump on board, they absolutely gorge themselves on the warm blood. And once they've had this blood, the females are actually ready to lay their eggs and then die. So can we honestly ever understand this tick's Umwelt? Can humans realistically ever try to understand the life or how this tick perceives its world? Probably not, especially since we are highly visual. Trying to understand any sort of organism that's not visual, has no eyes, that relies on other senses is very, very difficult to get your head around. And we probably think that the life of an eyeless tick is slightly impoverished, shall we say, compared to ours. But that's not necessarily the case. This particular German scientist believes that this tick has a goal. This female eyeless tick has a very specific goal. Her goals are really well defined and she encounters few distractions. Her goal is to gorge herself on the most delicious blood of any mammal that she can find, and then, of course, get ready to lay eggs. And that's her life cycle complete. So although we're looking at lions here, I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's really, really difficult to put your mindset into the mindset of a different animal. And we are mammals. Lions are mammals, so I guess there's some sort of striking similarity there. But it's really, really difficult to get your head around. So Umwelt is very, very different from the term ecological niche, not to be confused, because that's sort of a habitat that an organism requires for survival. But Umwelt basically stresses an organism's very much self-centered, subjective world that we can't really get our head around. Some animals can actually perceive ultraviolet light, UV light. We don't have that ability. And there's other, well, let's think of the star-nosed mole, who do have eyes, but they don't really utilize vision. They navigate their way underground via smell and live entirely underground. It's baffling. Even butterflies, who we hardly see nowadays, unfortunately, because it's winter, they're actually thought to have one of the sort of widest visual capacities or visual range of any animal out here. And they can use UV markings to find mates, healthier mates. They can also use UV patterns to appear similar to other species, to predators, but differentiating themselves only marginally to their mates. And we cannot see any of this as humans, which I just think is baffling to get your head around. Well, everybody's very alert. Reindeer are another fantastic example because they can rely on very, very special rays of light to spot lichens that they eat. They can spot them using very, very particular wavelengths of light. They can also spot UV-absorbent urine, yes, of predators on the snow. I mean, I was always taught in Scotland never eat yellow snow as a child because we have lots of snow. But the reindeer don't look for the yellow. They look for the special UV light that is being reflected. So going back to these gorgeous animals that we have in front of us, they will navigate the terrain here entirely different from us. They are visual, but they rely far heavily on their sense of sound. Look at them all listening. They're very alert. They're listening. What can they hear nearby? Megan, you're saying it's a fascinating discussion. Yes, I've been researching it a lot the past few days. I've got lots to talk about on that because I always try to understand, no matter what organism you're looking at, be it lion, be it an eyeless tick, butterfly, sea turtle, shark. In order to truly understand that organism, you've got to try and understand how they perceive their world to the best of your ability. Now, if you think, dark mane is a perfect example in a male coalition who split up from the other two boys. But they will remain in contact and they will be able to find one another when they want to. Through calling, so they've got to have fantastic hearing, and through scent. Scent is something that I wish I could understand. It fascinates me. Leaving chemical cues and chemical signals to another individual of your own kind to be able to tell, are you boy, are you girl? Roughly how old are you? Are you reproductively active? Are you dominant? Is there lots of testosterone? Are you the male dominant sort of character in this area? So I will continue this chat. Our lions are on the move. Only the females, might I add, and they're heading further into Juma. So I'm going to stay with these girls, and you guys are going to go all the way down to Dylan at Tswalu.
So no sign of these meerkats yet. This wind is really, really niggly. But we are keeping our eyes open for them and anything else. And we actually found something over here. And you'll see, here he is, right here. I I think he's alive. I hope he's alive. There you go. Jimmy cricket. Actually not, it's a grasshopper. But in this cold weather, they actually move very, very slowly. You know, he is alive. He's actually moving his antenna. Yeah. But it's so cold, the sand. Yeah, the sand is freezing cold. So I don't think he's going to be going anywhere soon. And a little grasshopper like this would be fair prey for a hungry meerkat. And linking this little guy to a completely different species to the meerkats is, Darby and I were chatting about it yesterday or the day before, these common fiscals, or the fiscal shrikes that we've been seeing. Remember, we call them butcher birds as well, because they, you know, often stick their prey up on trees and things, on thorns. There's no armored ground crickets around, so I'm very, very interested to see what these shrikes are going to be going for now and what they're going to be eating. And the way we'll do, one of the ways that we'll do that, apart from like first-hand observations of them catching things, is to actually look at their larder sites and see what they're actually busy impaling. It could be that they're going to start going for little agamas. You know, there's lots of baby agamas out now, which are those ground lizards. And even possibly things like mice. I've seen them impale mice on thorns too. So that's just interesting that a major food source for those shrikes has disappeared. So what are they going to be eating now? That'll be something to look for. But you know, linking that to this grasshopper, this would be a good food item for a shrike as well. But something so small, it's unlikely that they would impale. They'd probably just gobble this guy up. But little guy, I hope you don't get gobbled. I hope you go on to live a happy life. Like I say, yeah, he's still super cold, so he's not going to be doing anything anytime soon. But as it warms up, then he'll start moving off again. But just there's always some kind of life form around. Sometimes you've just got to look a little bit harder for it, that's all. Oh, Jenny's asked a wonderful question. That's a really good question. The question is it a problem for animals with a change of season and their diet? In other words, do they have to shift their diet? And that can be the case, absolutely. And not just the actual diet. So if we take the shrikes that we're talking about for an example, you know, they'll still be predators, obviously. You know, they're not going to start eating fruit and berries suddenly. Hook, number one, there are none. But secondly, they're predators. So they're going to be going for insects, lizards, geckos, mice, that kind of stuff. But the thing is, there can be a complete variation in the abundance of their different prey items at different times of the year. So we know, we've seen these armored ground crickets have been around. There's been thousands and thousands of them around. It's been a super important food item for meerkats, shrikes, cory bustards, jackals, you name it. Everything eats those little guys. But now they're not there. And that's what really interests me, is what is that shift in diet for those shrikes, as just one example. And, you know, that can be, if you look at our mouse birds at the moment, you know, mouse birds are fructivores, but not only that, they're fructivores in a bird that eats a lot of fruit. But there's no fruit around on these trees at the moment. So what are the mouse birds eating? And you're finding now they've shifted from going from fruit, they're actually eating tiny leaves, and there's a particular kind of bush that's very, very here, that's very important for them. It's called the honeythorn. You often get them feeding on those little trees. So absolutely, there can definitely be a shift in diet on a lot of species, and that's very, very dependent on the season. And not just the season, but the timing of the rain out here is so critical. We have some years where there are no armored ground crickets whatsoever, and that's probably related to rainfall and the timing of that rainfall. Got a meerkat out.
We've just repositioned. They've moved. They're alert. All looking in the same direction, but they've gone flat again. They hear something that we don't, and that's exactly what I was trying to say. We cannot possibly really get our head around what these lions are essentially thinking or what they're feeling. humans have really limited ability to be able to enter the lives of other organisms. Sometimes we even struggle with other cultures around the world. And I think there's still a lot we must learn from the sort of Umwelt. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Please tell me if I'm not. And the sort of intelligence levels of other animals. I feel if humans can connect to animals in a bigger way and relate to how they're perceiving the world, then it would really, really help our empathy towards many different species. People feel for lions, we feel for leopards. They're gorgeous, they're furry, they're so aesthetically pleasing, but they struggle to relate to sharks. Not so aesthetically pleasing in some people's opinion, or they would struggle to relate to an eyeless tick. Yes, I can see exactly why people would struggle with that. But if you think about a tree is a great example. A tree is life, but lots of organisms need that tree. So you'll have birds that rely on the branches, that maybe live in the tree, you know, burrow nests or create nests in the branches. You have insects that, of course, run up and down the trees. Insects that need to eat the bark, eat the leaves. Beetles, burrowing beetles that'll burrow right in. Insects that will lay their eggs there. Then, of course, you have mammals. For example, leopards need trees to hoist or kill. They're hoisters. Or even foxes. A fox family are known to dig sort of layers into the sort of roots of trees. They'll dig, and that's where they'll hide out. Many, many other organisms. But if you think of that one tree, each organism that relies on it or potentially lives within it will perceive that tree in a completely different way. And then a human comes along. Let's throw a human in the mix, and we ourselves will look at that tree in a different way. And yet it's the same tree. I hope that made sense. I think I put this lioness to sleep. Tanny, you're saying the lion's enjoying it. I hope so. I'm trying to understand you, girl. You know, there was a sort of misconception back in the day that animals are basically just, you know, stimulus response machines. Fight or flight. Give them a stimulus and they respond. But I think science has came far enough now to realize that's not the case. It's really, really not the case. There's so much more to any organism within any ecosystem. Safari lover, I personally have never noticed lions change colour. I just think for winter they blend in far better because of that tawny coat or that blondie tawny coat. They really, really blend into the vegetation. You can see, I'm sure Theo will give you a good view of the vegetation around us. We're right on the fire break, so maybe not here, but over here you can see the grass is really, really thick and tawny in the colouring itself. And a lion could easily blend into that and you wouldn't see it. They're monotomous as well. They don't have rosettes or sort of disruptive markings like leopards do. But in summer, everything's so green and thriving and lush that, of course, lions stand out a little bit better. So I don't think their colouring changes, but they do just happen to blend in very, very well with winter in comparison to summer. But lions already have the protection of their pride. I mean, they're separated here, but they're staying together. They already have the protection of one another. And since I've mentioned intelligence, there was an interesting article that said social cats, when you're looking at the big cats, are more intelligent than solitary cats. But I think intelligence is such a hard thing to measure. I'm not sure I can agree with that. I think when you're, let's just say, a leopard, and you're out here on your own, it takes a remarkable amount of cognitive ability to be able to navigate this landscape on your own and not rely on another individual. I think that's remarkable. Whereas the lions here, they can rely on each other. They're not completely alone. apex predator, and they've got one another. So I'm going to try and not bore the pants off this lioness here. We're going to move around to have a look at the others. And hopefully they may get up soon.
Wild Earth relies on support from viewers like you to carry on broadcasting our daily live shows. A small donation goes a long way in helping us on our mission to connect the world with nature. Please visit our support page to see how you can help and become part of the Wild Earth family.
We've just come across this really nice big herd of wildebeest who were, before we disturbed them, looking to settle down in this clear open patch of grass, and they've all huddled together in a very, very tight group, and I think that's just an easy way to make sure that no one gets stranded or isolated. And I mean, it's quite interesting to see, because usually, I mean, when we talk and see and show you wildebeest, it tends to be one male by himself, and so we don't really get to see such a large herd together like this. And so that one on the right hand side, the youngest one, it seems like it's one of the only youngsters in the whole herd, and then the rest of them seem like they're all adults. But look at that one walking away at the back, and see if you can see, it looks like it's much bigger than the rest. So that might be one of those bulls that we're talking about. So this is more than likely his territory, and I'm sure he's very happy to have such a large group of females in one big clump together. So he might be even more active marking and making sure that there's no other challenges coming in to try and take over his space and take over the females that he's got for now. So he's just got a much bigger head. The neck seems quite a lot thicker. So that's definitely the male in the front walking away, and then the two on the right hand side are females that are adults. They're almost the same age as him and quite a lot smaller. Butterfly, you saying that wildebeest can actually be so pretty? I'm not so sure about that. I don't think they've got the prettiest looking faces. They might be interesting looking, but I wouldn't want to wake up every morning with the wildebeests on my pillow next to me. I think I'd wake up every morning with a massive fright. And interesting to see that the big bull's gotten up and moved away, and the whole herd is following in that long line. It brings me back to watching these massive herds of wildebeest in East Africa. I mean, it's on a scale times 1,000 of what we're witnessing here, but it's really cool to see them walking in a long line like this. That one at the back. That one at the back is the smallest one, and it must be quite vulnerable being right in the back. If I was it, I would have wanted to be right in the middle. But it does seem like they've stopped, so they might just be waiting for us to move on before they settle down again.
So finally these little guys are out this morning. They have really made the most of staying in bed with this cold weather, as many of you would be doing, I'm sure. I'm just taking in a wild guess, but I would guess so. But their day's just starting, they're getting up, getting going, as others of you will also be doing. So this particular burrow system, like I say, well, you can see very, very clearly it's nothing nearly of the extent of that other burrow system that they use. This system we call boskia. Boskia are these big shepherd's trees that we've spoken about on some of the game drives. These massive trees, and there's one very close by here. That's why we call this boskia burrows. The other burrows that they were using were called far burrows, because it used to be the furthest burrow system of this group. Well, now it's not anymore. This one is about 500 meters, 600 meters away from those burrows. So the little pups are out as well. Yeah, so they're probably going to spend a little bit of time here warming up, but I don't think it'll be too long before they'll actually move out foraging. And it's going to be really interesting to see which direction they actually go today. And it could even be that they go back to that other burrow system. I mean, that's always a possibility. And that's why the work that people like Rebecca, Veronique are doing in terms of monitoring and habituating these meerkats is so important. Because that's how we actually keep tabs on where they're going and where they're moving. You really focused and dedicated on these kind of things, and if you can't do that, you know, it becomes very, very difficult to actively habituate these.
The meerkats are getting habituated, which is great. Animals that also become quite habituated to the camp are these buffalo in Ndlovu Dam, not far from our camp. And as you can see, these old buffalo bulls are busy doing some horn locking, just practicing, fighting a little bit, just being a bit active this morning on this cool morning. There's a few more that have just gone down on the other side of the dam wall. I just came and had a drink. Normally they would have rolled in the mud and covered their body in mud to protect... Oh, hello. That looks a bit uncomfortable, doesn't it? It's not a very serious fight. Oh, what's happening to his foot? Ow. Stand on it properly. That looks very uncomfortable. These old buffaloes would normally cover themselves in mud, but it's cold this morning, so they don't need to. You can see they're pushing quite strongly against each other. They're not really breeding at the moment, these buffalo, with herds that pass through. They're a bit on the older side, so they don't really have to fight as aggressively anymore, but they still get the urge every now and again to push and shove at each other. This doesn't look like a serious fight. This is just more, you know, just social bonding, a bit of practice and a bit of boisterous behavior. But that boss that's on top of its head there, when they are a bit younger and when they're fighting for the rights to mate with females, they will run at each other from, you know, a couple of meters away and hit each other with incredible force. I mean, these two buffaloes can weigh anything up to 800 kilograms. What is that in pounds? Maybe 1,600 pounds. And so when they do that, it's a huge muscles and huge horny boss on top of its head to protect their skull from getting damaged and their neck from getting damaged. Pickles, it does. This is a headbutt you do not want to receive. Well, not that you want to receive any headbutts, I suppose, but this one will be particularly uncomfortable. But these two are not really... when the horns hook underneath each other's necks, it's quite serious. I've seen a fight before between some buffaloes, really, really aggressive at a waterhole as well. That's often where the herds come together and then tensions can flare. And these two buffaloes were bashing each other's horns, and one of them hooked its horn under the other and managed to actually penetrate the skin, and the horn was stuck under its skin. It was very uncomfortable. Now, they're very tough animals. They can survive that kind of thing, and they'll do just fine. But it must have been very sore for a while, having the horn stuck right under its skin, and it was hooked, you know, it was like stuck on it. It was pretty hectic. But these two don't look like they'll come to any serious blows. Very nice to see them just being a bit active. Quite often we see buffaloes just being very relaxed. In the meantime, let's send you over to Raymond, who's got a very cool barbet.
Yes, I did believe that you did enjoy that sight, and Lauren together with the lions and the meerkats. That makes our show so interesting. So right over here in front of us, we have got a crested barbet. So these barbet mostly they like to be alone sometimes, not to be. They can be together with that other birds, but not another barbets like those black-collared barbet, which there are plenty and make big songs together. So this one being separated, I like their songs. And sort of like as the sound is coming closer and go away. While it is on the same place, it's sort of like waving when it's calling. But it's not that much visual now because it's getting a little bit on a thick bush where it is a little bit advantage for them to get sort of little small insects or whatever as it is going to feed for himself. Let's listen a little bit. If you get that sound. Yeah, there is also a audio of another bird. Yes, it is a lovely sound, and I believe evenly myself I like it because it's waving, coming up and down. So like the other birds, as we saw, it would love birds a lot. There is also grey-headed shrike. The audio for that one, you won't manage to get it where it is. You saw on the last spot, the time when you saw where it is, it's almost at the time when it's flying. Oh. Can you get this audio? Okay, guys, I send you to the lions. I believe that you're going to enjoy those lions.
My lions are on the move. They hear something. Now, no buffalo have been reported from Djuma this morning, but something is here. Got one sleepy lioness here, but I want to try and just see if I can keep up with them. We've got all the 5 adults. The Talamatis have less female adults than the Nkahumas do. It's a smaller pride, but they also have lots of cubs. 9 sub-adults. Okay. Just gonna pull up here for you, Theo. Let's see where they go. It'd be lovely if they all perched on top of that termite mound. They're listening. I think they're hungry. I don't see full bellies. They make their entire choice on which direction to go by stopping, listening, smelling, and then they'll decide whether to go north, south, east, or west. When you look at a pride of females, they really don't like to be apart from one another. They don't like to be separated. You will find females going off on their own, but normally when you see them like this, yep, here she comes. She didn't want to be left behind. This is the one that had the injured front right leg. You can see it as healing extremely well. Lions are robust. Really robust. We worry about animals when they get injured, but they're very resilient. She's looking really good. Barely even got a limp, to be honest. And of course, cats are Panthera leo. That's their Latin name. And there's 5 species that make up the Panthera genus. And Panthera is essentially what we call the big cats. You've got the lions, the leopards, jaguar, tiger, and snow leopard. They are the 5 big cats. We obviously don't get them all out here. Yes, she's going up the termite mound. Oh, another one, slow coach. Oh, look at that wound. Look at that wound on the left leg. Ouch. I've not heard reports about that one. Ouch, ouch, ouch. And of course she stops behind a tree. Isn't that marvellous? Could not have timed that any better. Okay, I think what we're going to do is try and get round so we can see all their beautiful faces. Now, a cheetah, funnily enough, is not one of the big cats. It's also known as a lesser cat, but I really don't like that term. Oh, dark means came up from behind. They really don't like to be separated. Okay, I'm going to go around and try and see if I can get their faces. But we are going to send you across to those adorable meerkats with Dylan and Davy.
So these little guys are still around the burrow, but it's warming up slightly at least. It's probably 1 degree, 2 degrees warmer than it was earlier, but still very, very windy. And like I thought would happen, one of them's actually moved around to this side of here, trying to get a bit of shelter from the wind. So it may be that the others will move across the side just now as well. But this wind is really blowing. This is proper kite flying weather. Or flying anything, but it's a really interesting little burrow system to say, sure. It's out on this massive dome. Kerry says we mustn't get blown away. We've actually anchored Davy down. We've got weights on his ankles to stop him blowing away. He's just holding onto his camera. Oh, these little meerkats are going to be a handful very soon. They're becoming so active now. Debbie's asked, what is the largest prey that a meerkat will catch? So that's a very good question. Typically they're going for very small things, little invertebrates, and that they will dig out geckos as well. We've got beautiful little geckos called barking geckos that live just under the soil surface. They'll dig them out, and they're small. They're about 5-6 centimeters in length. But, and this, I know this is quite gruesome to say this, but there's their normal prey range size, so even little nestling birds occasionally in that, but it's normally invertebrates and scorpions, things like that. But our meerkat habituators have actually seen a group of meerkats attacking and killing an African wildcat kitten. Now that kitten weighs as much as a meerkat does. Okay, that's the kind of size of the animal that they killed. And that was absolutely brutal for the people that watched it, to see this going on. I mean, it just shows us incredibly tough side to these little animals and what they're capable of. So they are capable of killing larger things in a group, but that is just atypical behavior of them to do that for a food item. So normally it's much smaller things. Just watching me as I'm moving just beyond the line of bushes over here. But this is very, very good for their habituation. Remember, we've spoken about it. Your movement and your sitting still and your different pitches of your voice, talking softly, talking loudly. It's all very, very important if you're going to be habituating animals, whatever species. And again, it depends what your intention is. When we were staking out at that shell duck nest, that is an incredibly sensitive sighting. These meerkats have grown used to people over many, many years, at different generations of them. But like that shell duck, we were super, super, super careful. And when we show you our setup in the nest, you'll actually see why we had to be so careful at that nesting site.
We are having such a wonderful morning birding. Look at this little guy that we've got here, a little bee eater. and it's spending the morning flying around the bank of the river, and it looks like it's trying to catch something. There's actually a whole family of them, so there's more up ahead. Also a very, very pretty and brightly colored bird. And there's that yellow throat green on the back. And if we're lucky, we might be able to see just above the black stripe, there's a very thin layer of turquoisey blue color. You can just see it if it turns its head right, but I don't know if the light is good enough for us to see it. And just look how agile they are in the air. They remind me of these Spitfire planes, how they can just move and they can just maneuver as they're trying to catch these little insects. And so there's about 3 or 4 of them, and they're making these little chirps, calling to one another, and these like small little tss, 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 little chirps. And see what it's doing, and it's going from the same perch, waiting for something to fly by. It comes, sweeps in, catches it, and it returns to exactly the same spot. And so they predominantly eat pretty much any flying animal. Roshni, these bee eaters are such a pretty family. I mean, you've got these ones, and then the European bee eaters, the blue-cheeked bee eaters, but probably one of the most pretty species is the carmine bee eater that we get in the summertime here. And that's just completely, it's got blue, a little bit of purple, and then the whole chest is just this beautiful pink color. There's actually another one that's just come a little bit closer. Kiki, I think they're quite a lot bigger than a hummingbird. I think hummingbirds tend to be slightly smaller than what these bee eaters are. I'm just checking the size in the book. So my book says that a little bee eater is about 15 or 16 centimeters. So that's about 7.5, 8 inches. So I think generally hummingbirds are maybe even half the size of that. I'm not entirely sure. I know you get quite a few different species, but now that this one's super close, see if you can see that the blue color around the black eye stripe. So just above the black eye stripe, you might just be able to see a very thin line of blue. Hopefully it returns to the same perch. Oh, they're coming right past our vehicle. It's a very, very cool sighting to have. And just the colors on the wings even, I mean, it's mostly green, but down at the bottom there's a little black stripe. There's some orange there too. But that bright yellow is very prominent this morning. It seems like they're going to be hunting around here. So we might spend some time to see if we can get a little bit of footage of them flying around.
Could she be any cuter? They were alert, but they're not alert. Gone back to sleep. On top of a termite mound, which actually looks very comfortable. If termite mounds are active, they're normally quite warm, so especially on a cold winter's day, animals like your cats like to sit on top of them. They can feel the warmth from underneath. Termite mounds are like little air conditioning units. They control their temperature when they're active with termites. I love seeing a big cat on top of a termite mound. Now, lions are one of the sort of big cats that constantly remain in communication with one another. constantly remain in contact with one another because they are so social. Leopards, not so much. You'll hear them vocalizing to be territorial, but they don't communicate quite so much. A mother will call her cubs, but really that's about it. Now, if you think about it, there's all sorts of communication in the animal kingdom, if you really put your mind to it. Chimpanzees will scream and lots of body language, gesture. Whales, those big large mammals of the sea, will actually sing. And even although specific whales of the same species meet from different geographical areas, they won't be able to understand one another. It's not the same language. They sing in dialects. So whales in one part of the country, in the ocean obviously, may not be able to understand whales in the ocean at a different part of the country. Bees dance. They use body language. We call it dancing, but I guess it's probably not dancing. And well, humans, we talk a lot. I can even vouch for that myself. We're very vocal. I must imagine a bee disco. Oh, I'd love to be at that disco. Especially if it was a silent disco and they all had headphones on. Anyway, humans of course use lots. Oh my goodness. That's my radio just having a moment. Humans, we use tens of thousands of words and we string them all together into what we call sentences and we communicate with one another. And because we are so vocal and we're able to communicate a lot in many different languages using our voice and our vocal cords, we actually forget about other senses sometimes. And it's not until you really think about it. I've been diving heavily back into my sign language, trying to improve my BSL. I'd love to do some segments in BSL, but I have to say I've lost it since I was a child. And of course it's British Sign Language, so I'm not entirely sure it would meet with the American Sign Language, but I'm still trying to dive back into it. One of the ways that humans can sort of really get into another's umwelt that I was talking about earlier is to try and see what it's like to lose a sense. So for example, blindfold yourself, stimulate your other senses, stimulate your hearing, your smell by being blindfolded. And of course, that can create empathy for the visual impaired or the blind, but it also, on a personal level, can help you stimulate your other senses. Sometimes it's good to be silent and not talk all the time. This lioness is definitely homing in on her sleeping sense, but we're going to stay right here until the very end, and you guys, off you pop to Raymond.
Yes, I believe that you have been enjoying the lions on that sighting, which is very interesting for today. We only managed to see the carcass that the lions, what are they feeding about, and some of the birds. It was fantastic morning today. No matter it's a little bit overcast, the sun is now showing us that I'm on the way, and we appreciate it. We have got a wonderful day. Look over there, sort of like a water, sort of like a just finished raining shower. It was raining the whole night until now. That is nice for the cats to hunt in order to win for everything for their food. So it is also favorable for us as well that we can work the whole day without getting bored, without getting anything. Nice day. Okay guys, I'll send you to Tswalu. We're going to enjoy a little bit show.
So the whole group has now moved onto the back of that little mount, so trying to get a little bit further out of the wind, although I mean it's a really scrubby little patch of bush. It's not like they've got a huge amount of cover there, and this wind is still bitingly cold. I know I did just now say it's gone up a degree or two. It has, but that gives you some indication of just how cold it was earlier. Certainly nothing near the minuses that we've been having, but it's just this constant wind. And that really, we were chatting about black globe temperatures the other day. You know, that's taking these kind of things into account, your wind chill factor as well. But I think they're going to go foraging fairly soon. Coming back to the whole temperature-related thing, you know, they're going to be burning through a phenomenal amount of energy with these kind of conditions. So they'll really need to be out there getting some good forage. Again, what will be interesting now that they're in a completely new area, well, when I say new area, it's an area, whoa, okay, it's a thing that they, it's an area that they haven't used for a while. Actually, but sorry, we're going to pan you guys. You got to see this. Sorry, I'm getting all excited here. Remember we were chatting earlier about the giraffe going over a dune crest? Sorry, I got distracted there, but I couldn't help seeing this giraffe. And I was saying earlier about how beautiful they look when they go over a dune crest. And yes, I'm a real jack in the box sometimes. I'm like, how stunning is that? So going from, yeah, man, that's beautiful, 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 beautiful. So it just shows there's always something to see, and like where this meerkat burrow is located is right up on this high ground, so it really gives you, not quite, but almost a 360 view from where this burrow is located.
I hear you, Dylan. I'm not a fan of wind. Oh, especially when you've been diving and you're in a wetsuit, and yes, wind is not pleasant. Luckily, it's very calm at our side. Still slightly overcast, but it's not windy, and I'm very grateful for that. And we were talking about sign language, and funnily enough, the other day I was reading about one of the first experiments that was done using a chimp, and this chimp was called Vicky. And I believe it was around 1940s, 1950s. And chimps don't have vocal cords like we do. They're not designed that way. They haven't evolved sort of to the complex vocal cords that we have. So therefore, they can't actually talk. They can vocalize, but not talk. So Vicky was the center of an experiment where chimps were taught to use sign language. Now, it's not necessarily sign language for the deaf, not the same sort of BSL or ASL, but they were taught to obviously use signs in order to communicate. So I don't quite know what the signs would be. But, for example, I would imagine possibly food or hungry or happy, simple signs like that these chimps were taught. And this was way back in the 1940s, 1950s when they were trying to see if animals could understand sign language. And I have a funny feeling these Talamatis here would not understand my sign language, but they would understand if a buffalo appeared in front of them, that's for sure. There was also a second experiment, I can't remember which year this was in, but it was another chimp called Washo. And this chimp apparently learned 150 different ASL signs. So that's American Sign Language signs. So they were able to communicate on a visual, more sort of body language perspective, which is really, really interesting. In the 19th century, many people thought that humans' minds had nothing to do with animals. And this afternoon, I am going to go into that and tell you that that's completely wrong. So what a great drive back for me. It's been an absolute pleasure for me to be with you all again, especially seeing the Talamatis. So thank you all for your comments and questions. We couldn't do it without you. Please do join us this afternoon. Until then, goodbye.